Hey, Catherine. Great question. I figured it was easier to show you than to try and tell you, so I'm doing a video of this. How do you make fairy lights, or any kind of light, for example? One of the things that really kind of helps is if you look at a light and really kind of dissect it. So an awful lot of the time, it's just basically a glow with a couple of different colors, a little bit of lighter, a little bit of darker. I went to my gradient tool and I loaded in metals. And that gave me these last 5 gradients. I've got them in here twice now because I just reloaded them. But the yellow, there's a light yellow gradient in there, and that might be one of the things that you can try. Use the circular or the radial gradient. First of all, I would make a circular marquee tool, and you can make it big. Make it on a new layer, make it big so you can see what you're doing, and then run the gradient. So I'm going to run it bigger than the circle even, so you kind of get that two-tone effect going on here, where you've got something that's a little bit different color in the middle, and then you've got the circular part around that. Now I'm going to come in and just blur the edges of that a little bit. So I'm going to go Gaussian blur. So it's just not got a hard edge, okay? And you can just do it by sight, depending. I'm working on your file, so you can kind of look at what I just did and get the gist of it. And then I'm going to have to scale this later, but just so you can kind of see what it does in larger scale, come into layer styles, use an outer glow, and in this case, I'm going to make it big enough so it's got a nice soft edge on it. But when I scale this down, and I'm going to do that now, whoops, I have a whole bunch of other things on that layer. There we go. When I scale this down, it's going to keep the layer style the same size as the original. So that's going to make the layer style huge in comparison to the object that it's on. So after you scale it to whatever size you want your fairy lights to be, just go back to outer glow and scale the size down so that you get, see how you get a nice effect there? I've got this at 56% opacity. You can even make it a little bit more. 69 kind of looks good. I've got the spread at 15 here, and the size, depending on how much glow you want, that big. Okay, so now I've got a fairly small light, and this is totally up to you how big you want your lights to be and how much glow you want them to have. Once you make your light, that's super easy. Just use the Move tool, V, on your keyboard, as in victory, and hold down the Option or Alt key, and then you can drag out as many as you want, and they can go anywhere you want them to go. Each one will come in on its own layer. And once you drag out a few, you can actually take those layers and merge them together. Shift, click, and then Command E to merge them together. And then you can do the same thing if you want to do a lot longer string of lights. And it will copy, several strings at once. There you go. So something like that. Remember, you can always go back. I'm going to merge those together too. And you can always go back because we've merged the layer glow style, the outer glow style of the layer style to the layer. We can go back and add more glow if we want. You see that's going to be too much, but just play with it a little bit, and there's a little bit of glow right there. So depending on what size you want them and how much glow, you just play with the settings. But that is pretty much how I would handle fairy lights. Another option, if you want to have something glow and have it kind of look like it's twinkling too, is to go into the brushes tool. I'm going to switch to a white brush and come in and look for the brush that looks like a crosshair, like this 20. I'm going to use the bigger one so we can see it. I'm actually going to make it bigger so we can really see it. And that is another option too that you can add to it. I'm going to copy that layer over itself, use the transform tool, come in here, and turn it and then just make it a little bit smaller so I have two different sizes. So I've got something like that. Put those two layers together, Command or Control E, and then I can put that over, if you want an even more kind of glowy effect, over the light that you make. Do it to the first one and then it'll automatically be on all the rest. So if you want that kind of sparkly specular glow around it, you can do that too. So just a couple of hints on how to make fairy lights or something looks like it's lit, and have fun with it. That's a great idea. I like your project very much. Can't wait to see what you do. You're missing some of the details in the shadows here, but I understand it's a night scene. If you want to bring some of those back, let's see, right there. Oh, that's in multiply mode. Okay, so since that's in multiply mode, you could just drop that down just a little bit so we get a little bit more detail in this area. But I think you're fine since it's a night scene. You're quite fine. So I've got a whole bunch of layers here. I'm just gonna toss those all away so they get out of the way. But you can see that gives you, I think, the effect you're looking for, especially if you add the little brush stroke on there as well. Oops, sorry, right there. Okay, add that little brush stroke on as well, especially if you do it in two different directions. That's kind of a nice effect. So let me know if there are any other questions. And there we go. I can center it using the tools. I can make it a little bit smaller even if I want. And like I said, just do it on the first light so you don't have to keep repeating. I'm gonna, just to show you, just get rid of all that. And there's my first light there. And again, just come in here, use the Move tool, hold the Option or the Alt key down, and it will automatically, once you put those layers together, it'll automatically copy and paste those to a new layer. So it added the glow to the little striations of light there as well because of the way I added it. I had the layer with the layer style on the bottom layer. If I'd switched them, then the layer style would have disappeared and become part of the permanent part of the layer. So there you go. Fairy lights are us. Have fun.